Which isolation? Would you retire from?
So sorry. We've all looked at it, but this Monday thing throws us all off. You know what I mean?
There's the housing.
The enrollment one. I need slide number 6, please. So that's 1724. I need that 2,000, comma 137. Okay, let's do some math on the fly. You divide. I'm not an expert at this, by the way. This is why I have people help me. No, 21. That's a higher. That can't be right. She's not picking up. Okay, it's 16.97%.
$16.97.
16.97. Yes, sir. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Good morning. I always love it how it gets so quiet right at 10 o'clock. Great to see everyone here. We're going to go ahead and call the September 18th meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. The Texas Government Code permits this Board of Trustees to meet in a closed executive session for the following reasons, among others: to consult with the college district's attorneys on matters deemed privileged by the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct or Government Code 551.071, to deliberate regarding real property under 551.072, a prospective gift under 551.073, certain personnel matters under 551.074, security devices or security audits under 551.076, and economic development negotiations under 551.087. If the board meets in a closed session, we will announce the particular section under which we will be doing so prior to initiating the closed portion of the meeting. I've got one of our young students here today to do both the pledge and the invocation, double duty this morning. We've got Itzel Vasquez from Angleton, Texas, where she graduated from Angleton High School. She is currently pursuing a degree in dental hygiene, while at Blinn College, she has been a member of the Baptist Student Outreach Leadership Team, where she serves as a coordinator for Tuesday night Bible studies on campus. Upon graduating, she hopes to continue to pursue a career in dental hygiene and aspires to one day have her very own practice. Itzel, welcome.
If you would all just bow your heads with me. God, thank you for the opportunity to gather here today on behalf of Blinn College. We pray that as our Board of Trustees meet today, you would give them wisdom to make the best decisions for the future of our school and the students that will walk these campuses. We pray that you give them integrity and grace to ask thoughtful questions in spirit of love and support. We pray for those who will present today to have clarity of word and thought as they give their presentations. We thank you for the wisdom and leadership you've given our school and pray blessings on all who serve this school. Above all, we pray that in all we do here today and as we leave here, we would honor you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you so much for being here, Itzel. Okay, does not look like anyone signed up for public comment, so we will just move right into the report section, number 4 on the agenda. The first will be the Chancellor's Administrative Report. Dr. Hensley.
Good morning, everyone. A special hello to our trustees and those in the audience this morning. This is a beautiful September day, isn't it? And we're under 110 degrees, which makes it even more wonderful. Thank you, Chair Colcorson. I'd like to begin, trustees, if I might, with giving you an update regarding our current facilities projects. Let's start with the College Avenue realignment. Construction has begun on the college alignment. Traffic controls are in place, and the major excavation work on the south side of the College Avenue is complete. Additionally, work on the new retaining wall on the south side of the College Avenue is scheduled to begin today. Please use caution when driving through that area and go especially slowly. This project, trustees, does remain on schedule for completion next April of 2024. And now let's talk about the old main building. The contractor has demobilized now until the winter break. At that time, they're going to complete the masonry repairs on the north and the south facades, and this work will be completed during the winter break prior to our starting back up with classes in the spring semester. And now the Bryant Administration Building. There, we have obtained the building permit. I'm so pleased to say that. And Vaughn Construction has contracted a vendor to extend a fiber communications line from Building A to this construction site. Vaughn Construction also has coordinated with the utility company and has a plan to relocate the overhead power lines that cross the construction site. This project, trustees, is still on schedule for completion in February of 2025. And now I'd like to transition, if I might, with my microphone to the podium. Trustees, we are joined today by two employees who are retiring after a combined 43 years of service to Blinn College and our students. Patricia Walsh, would you please come forward and stand here next to Trustee Krausen at the dais? Trustees, Patricia is a programmer on the Brenham campus. She came to Blinn in 1998 as a data analyst, and in 1999, she transitioned to a new role as a web and PC applications specialist. In 2008, she shifted to her current role as a programmer. Christine Weed, Director of Administrative Computing Services, said the following: Pat has been a valuable resource to the department and to the entire Blinn family. As technology changed and evolved, Pat adapted with it, and she never hesitated to take on a new challenge. Pat truly enjoys the work she does, and the users that she supports think the world of her. Pat's dedication to her work is unparalleled, and I will miss having Pat as a full-time part of my team. Pat, thank you for all that you have done for Blinn and for all of our students. The trustees and I are sad to see you leave, but we're happy that you're embarking on this new stage of your life. And we thank you for everything that you have shared with us during your time here, and we send you with all the best wishes and best thoughts for the future. I know that the trustees would like to have the opportunity to shake your hand and thank you for your service. So if you don't mind, if you would just go across the dais in front, they would like to speak to you individually. And then after that, if you would come to the front, we'll take a picture of you. And if you have any loved ones with you today, we'd like for them to join you as well. Or if anybody from IT is here and would like to join you as well. Thank you.
It has been. I've enjoyed every minute.
And I know Trustee Colquist would like to say something to you as chair.
Pat, thank you so much for your years and years of dedicated service to Blinn College. I hope your career was rewarding, and I hope that you've got big plans for retirement.
Yes, thank you.
And Pat, would you like to say anything to the audience?
Blinn has been very good to me. I've enjoyed all of my years here, almost 25. Yes, it's been a good time.
Well, thank you so very much, and we'll take a picture, and then in a moment, do you have any others that you would like to have join you this morning? All right.
You don't even call each other.
Thank you again. Janice Whitehead, would you please step forward? Trustees, Janet is an English instructor on the Bryan campus. She came to Blinn in 2005 as a part-time continuing education computer instructor, and then in 2008, she became a part-time English instructor. In 2019, Janice became a full-time member of the faculty. And Dr. April Kincaid, Dean of Humanities, who is also here today, said the following: Janice always focused on student success and ensured that she was available and accessible to her students. She emphasized education's significance in her students' lives. And as the mayor of Sealy from 2017 through 2020, she modeled civic duty, to her students. Her kindness, flexibility, and dedication to Blinn made her a model colleague. Janice, thank you for all that you have done for Blinn College. You were one of the first individuals I met the first time I ever went to Sealy, and I've seen you many times since. But this Board of Trustees and faculty and staff are so proud of you and so grateful for your service. As I said earlier, these times are sad in many ways because we lose people that we really care about. But we're so happy that you take that next step in life. And so do keep in touch and let us know how you're doing. And if you ever get a little bored and homesick, well, just let us know and come on back down here. Janice, I know the trustees would individually like to thank you as well, and then we'll do a photo as well, and then we'll take pictures of you. And if you have anybody special here, then we'll ask them to join us. Thank you so very much. Trustees? Thank you, Janice, and we'll have you join trustee. Yeah, I was not going to let you leave until you do. As chair, I know that Trustee Colquist would like to make some comments for you.
Janice, thank you for your service to our campus in Sealy, and also thank you for your service to your community as the mayor over there. I know that know a little bit about politics, and it can be challenging from time to time. So thank you, and I hope that your retirement is all you hoped it will be.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping April hires me back in the spring so I can come back. Oh, yay. Just moving from full-time to part-time. I'm a Blinn graduate. I don't know if you guys know that or not. So my heart is here. But thank you.
Thank you so very much. Let's take a photo, and then I know I'd like Dr. Kincaid to come forward and join for one photo. And do you have any loved ones here today? All right, so we're going to love April in just a second when she comes up and joins us. But let's take a picture first with just the board and me. Trustees, if you don't mind, I'd like to just make a few additional introductory remarks while I'm over here. I'd like to talk about the kinesiology program. We are so pleased to share some information about this program today. Our kinesiology program recently was named one of the best online associate degree programs in the entire United States by universityhq.com. This site, which compiles comprehensive information for students who wish to pursue higher education, ranked Blinn's Associate of Science in Kinesiology number 6 in the United States among all online associate degrees. At this time, I would like to invite Dean Debbie Vavra, Dean of Arts, Kinesiology, and Agriculture, to introduce her fellow presenters and share more details regarding this exciting program. And then after that, that will conclude my report, and I'll return the podium to Chair Colquist. Debbie?
Good morning, Chair Colquist, Chancellor Hensley, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to share some information about our kinesiology program. We are so excited about this honor that they've been given. And I want to tell you just a little bit of history. I can vividly remember several years ago when Dr. Busicki was our dean, and we were at a convocation at the Brazos Center. He said, "Come here, I need to talk to you." And I was like, oh gosh, what have I done now? And he took me out in the hall and he said, I think they're going to give us kinesiology. And I'm like, okay, well, the more the merrier. And so we're so glad that kinesiology joined the Visual and Performing Arts Division at that time. And then we became VPAC, and now we are AKA. And so with inheriting kinesiology, we also inherited Dr. Shelley Peacock. And Dr. Peacock is our Assistant Dean and Professor of Kinesiology, and she's going to share some more information with you about this program. And I would tell you that Dr. Peacock has not only been a champion for the kinesiology department and the many students that it serves, she is a crusader for that department. She currently sits on 2 committees at the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and she's currently working on the field of study with health and kinesiology. So she's done a wonderful job promoting this program. And she doesn't always like to take the credit for that, but the credit is really hers. She's done a fabulous job. And she's very creative, and she holds her faculty to a very high standard. And so I'm so excited that she, along with her colleagues, have won this award. And I will tell you that when she came with kinesiology to our division, pretty much every couple of weeks, she'll come into my office and say, Debbie, how am I supposed to compete with the band and livestock judging and choir because they're so visible? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And I'm telling you, it's every few weeks she does this. So I kind of get to say, I told you so now. The time would come that she would be recognized as well, and what a great recognition it is. So, Dr. Peacock. Okay, ready? Okay, like a good kinesiology, I've got my timer. Thank you, Debbie. We're not bright and shiny. We are not, but we are number 6 in the nation, and we like ranks. I am just thrilled. Our tagline this year is "Extraordinary things happen when you align your mind, body, and spirit," and that has a lot to do with what we are in kinesiology. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our demographics of our students, as well as some samples of our classes. That's the good part. Right now, as a whole, we have 1,453 majors. We have enrolled for this fall semester 1,011. This is our core classes as well as our majors classes. When you look at this chart, most people think of kinesiology majors as future teachers and coaches, and usually male. But if you look at our demographics, it is heavily female, and we are the pre's. We are the pre-physical therapy, we're the pre-occupational therapy, the pre's, allied health, public health, those types of things. And you can see it now with our demographics. They're very much shifting. Our graduates for last year, we had 4 lost grad awards. We conferred 42, and we've reverse transferred 56. So we get them in and we get them out, and we're very proud of that as well. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how we do our kinesiology program when it comes to online. We have traditional classes, blended classes, and online classes. Very few traditional without the blended component. Okay, that would be our yoga class. We have 1. The rest of them are a blended format. We start when we're developing courses as how we would do it as a traditional class. Then we half it and do how to do it online, blended, and then we figure out how do we put that classroom component online. So these are some things, collaborative things that we've come up with that I think are some of the funnest, maybe even the best of what we do. The first one is KINE 1321 coaching. This is Mr. Chuck Parsons' brainchild with the help of Harvey McIntyre and Joby Brock. This is the Tumbleweed High School project. Now, it doesn't have sound because Chuck didn't like how he sounded. So let me tell you a little bit about Tumbleweed. This is a scenario-based, is it gonna go? It is a scenario-based project. It is a high school located in Waco. It's a 4A high school. And in this project, the kids get to pick what team they're gonna coach. Now, they do everything from doing a job listing and job posting, media, budgeting, schedule for daily practices as well, and off-season, as well as scheduling their actual competitions. This is much more than coaching on the sidelines, but we do talk about that as well. How to talk to parents, how to talk to media, how to talk to administration. All of this is encompassed in this. What are the philosophies of coaching, teaching, and how do you balance those together? So they have this project, and each week they go in and add a little bit more to, they have a portfolio of how to do their school. It's a really neat project. The second one is KINE 1304, Personal and Community Health. This is my favorite class, I'm not gonna lie. This course talks from everything from mental health, psychological health, financial health. We talk about exercise, disease, drugs, reproduction, and death and dying. We take you from birth to death all in one semester. One of the things that we talk about is drugs and alcohol, and we can't just carry them to the bar and say, look at all these people that drink, because what they say is, oh, I know how to handle my alcohol, or, you know, what do you mean that this many drinks will do whatever? Here is the virtual bar, and we have all our students, they put in their weight and their gender, and it's supposed to compare, let me pull it up. It's supposed to compare, it's a disclaimer, and let's just put Buck in here. And Buck is, I don't know, 21 years old. He is a male. Okay, so the first thing they do when they enter the bar is they get to decide to eat. And once they eat, it goes on and talks about how food affects blood alcohol concentration. And depending on what they eat, how is it going to affect? What do we want to eat, guys? It's National Cheeseburger Day. Oh, cheeseburger then, let's go. Okay, so now we add a drink. Well, Buck hasn't gotten to the exercise portion of the course. So let's see, what do we want to drink? Margarita. Okay, let's go and get a margarita. How long are we going to finish this drink? 30 or 15? 15. So with his weight and with what he ate, his blood alcohol is a 0.01 to a 0.03. We can go in and compare. What's so neat about this is I can add a friend, and she can be Blinn, I don't know. She's 21. She's female, and she weighs 100, or she's 5 foot tall, and she weighs 100 pounds. And she's going to drink, and I can go in and look at, she likes beer. I can look at the differences between males, females, and the weights. And what they do is a comparison of these implications. They have to know the laws. It's a really neat project that they can really go, oh, I didn't realize that if I weigh this, or the differences between an excellent way to get them to have real life experiences without any of the laws broken. The next one I wanted to show you was Kinesiology 1164. This is our core class. Now, remember that most of our students, they do not have a regular PE or health class after 8th grade. The only health they get is what they get in 8th grade. So this is my only shot for them to have health in their core. This course is a beautiful combination of health as well as kinesiology. This is the kinesiology part of the course, and it actually shows how we as a group proctor the course. And what we do is we use Map My Walk and Map My Run. It's a free app. They put in their information. They take pictures before and after the run. Those are always fun to grade. And then in the middle, they actually put their map as well as their distance, heart rate, and time. What we do is we test them in this course on a mile and a half, and a 5K. We take that mile as the baseline, we put it in a regression formula, and we can actually predict what they're going to be running at the 1.5 mile and 5K, and to hold them up to standards. It's not participate, they get a grade. We do the same thing in our yoga classes, Pilates classes, all of our online portions of the course. We use some type of app like this. It not only gives the students real-time information, but it gives us that proctoring, academic integrity portion of the course. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about how great my program is, but I have to mention our faculty. I have 4 full-time faculty members. I have 2 head coaches that still teach for me. I have 4 assistant coaches, 4 redshirt coaches. I have an instructor that has been with me part-time for 33 years. I have 4 Blinn kinesiology alumni. And we have 1 alumni that's actually going to school to be an athletic trainer in San Marcos right now. So she gets to teach some of the online activities. We do a really great job because we have a little bit of creativity, we have a lot of enthusiasm, and we like each other most days. But we also are steeped in quality matters as well as pedagogy. And I'm very proud of them. Thank you. Do y'all have any questions? Somebody.
So when they leave Blinn,
Mm-hmm.
what's their next step if they're going to stay in school?
Well, it just depends on what they want to be. I have some that go into applied exercise physiology, some that go into basic exercise physiology, and some that go into exercise science with a health professions focus, some that go straight into public health. I have some that we take their electives and the directed electives, and they go into nursing, a BSN. It really depends on individual students. It is interesting when you look at all the different kinesiology programs at the 4-year school. What we're hoping for by the end of the fall semester at state level, we'll have a field of study with 310505, which will have a coaching track as well as a science track where they can go either way. And it will streamline the processes so it's not so hard to place them in schools.
I have a question, Dr. Peacock. It's great information, but is there a field of study for kinesiology?
That's what we're working on.
Okay.
I'm the chair for the community college side.
Okay.
Brian McFarland at North Texas is for the college side. We're reworking all of the outdated ACGM course descriptions right now in a separate committee, and then we should have those ready the next month, and then we go back to the drawing boards on our field of study.
Good. All right.
So hopefully by December, it will be up and running. They say that we should for sure have one by next August.
No, great, congratulations.
Thank you.
Are the majority of the students in the blended program or?
Yes, ma'am. The majority of our students are blended. It works really well because they get to do their book work at home. And we get to do the things that we do. And I'm smiling because we have a lot of good things that we do in our classes. In class, we also utilize things. A lot of times students in health and kinesiology come in with reading comprehension. We're developmental in those areas. So we use a lot of audiobooks and we encourage them to exercise and listen at the same time. So they usually do their book assignments at home where they can really focus and study that part. And then we apply it in the classroom.
I want to thank Chancellor Hensley for the articulation agreements because we're so connected. I have a health and kinesiology intern from Faith Mission who attends Prairie View University, and she's in the audience now. Destiny Broussard, would you stand? She's graduating in December in health and kinesiology from Prairie View. So connected.
Well, how wonderful. Trustees, thank you so much for your kind attention. Shelley, Debbie, thank you so very much for sharing your wonderful program with us, and congratulations to you. At this time, I'll return the podium to Chair Colkhorst.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Hensley. Next on the agenda, we're going to have a presentation of the financial statement package for the period ending August 31st, 2023, and I believe Dr. Glenn Burton is going to do that.
Good morning, Chairman Colkhorst, Board of Trustees, Dr. Hensley. I just want to give you an update of where we stand at the end of August. Now, keep in mind that August is the end of the fiscal year, but these aren't complete numbers until our financial statements are audited and various journal entries are made. So just keeping that in mind. Rolling forward, the topics we'll cover today are unrestricted cash and cash equivalents, revenues, expenditures, financial results, and observations. Talking about unrestricted cash and cash equivalents. Our unrestricted cash, and what I mean by unrestricted cash, no third party has placed specific limits on them. For example, if we got a grant, we'd have to spend it on specific grant-related items. Our unrestricted cash is broken down into three groups: the unrestricted reserve, the funding for current projects, mostly this is the Bryan project, and then lastly, funds available for new projects. Breaking that down into more detail, we have $59 million in unrestricted cash reserves. 5 months is $42 million, and then we have $15 million for deferred maintenance, and then a little bit more to get us up to the $59 million. For our funding for current projects, we have $36 million. Most of it is the Bryan project. A little bit is land reserve for land acquisition, and then available for additional projects is $30 million. Our cash in for the month of August was $10 million from students. That included financial aid, payments, and less refunds issued. Additional funds came from state appropriation, interest, grants, and property tax. So we had a total coming in of about $14 million. We had about $10 million go out, or almost $11 million, in property taxes, paying our bills, construction, and servitas for our dorms, P3 dorms. Looking at our total unrestricted cash change, those three numbers added together give us a $3 million positive balance. We then took the opportunity to reduce our operating account by $2.8 million and increase our investment account by $6 million. So our next item is revenues. And keeping in mind, our revenues for this year were $21.8 million. Our budget was $21.2 million. So somebody had some really good foresight to get this exactly right. If you notice, last year we had $130 million, but it's important to note that $16 million, or almost $17 million, was from the federal government's emergency higher education emergency relief fund, or HERF. So if you compare apples to apples, it's 21 million, almost 22 million for this year, closing out, and 13 or 14 million for the prior year. So there was some improvement there. Looking at graphs of how things have done over the past 4 years, you can see where state appropriations has been pretty stable, but tuition and fees had a little jump as enrollment comes back. Auxiliary is working up in the positive direction. Property tax is stable, but the interest had a jump. And the other, if you notice a big decrease, that is due to the loss of the higher education emergency relief funding. Our state appropriations, we received 100% of those funds from the state. Then we have tuition and fees. We budgeted 73 million, we collected 71 million, and so 96 or 97%. And there still may be some adjustments made to those numbers as we close out the financials. It's interesting to note that most of Blinn's tuition revenue comes from out of district, and you can see that that is making an upward trend compared to the last 2 years, and as COVID has released. The next is fee revenue, general fee, lab fees, and workforce. You can see most of the fee revenue comes from general fee. Now talking about auxiliaries, budget, and housing, it totaled $8.6 million in revenue from food service and housing. Going to the graph about how things are going, you can see housing revenue has decreased, but that is expected as P3 comes online. That money goes directly to Servitas to fund those dorms. Also, as additional dorms are coming offline, that will reduce that number down. But coming up, food service is increasing, and I believe Chairman Kokor's asked last time why that would be. And from what my understanding is that there's more people taking advantage of food service, more local people are doing it, and then there was an increase for the food service meal plan. So those are positive factors into it. So moving forward, our expenditures, we went up by 2.4 million over the prior year, and that's primarily due to an increase in enrollment. You have increase in variable costs such as adjunct instructors and consumables. Moving forward, the allocation of our funds, payroll expense is the largest significant expenditure. That's by a pretty hefty margin compared to the others. And then the debt service is probably our second largest as a percentage of where our revenues go. Again, expense comparison, salary and benefits are the largest, education in general, and then debt service rolls forward in there. Our largest category, which is where we want to see and outside agencies want to see, the largest area we spend money is instruction. Financial results, this is putting it all together, the expenditures, the revenues, and the cash. As you can see, we had revenue of 21.8 million, expenditures of 111 million, and so right now that's a 10.7 surplus that will be added to the fund balance. Now keep in mind that these aren't the final numbers for the years, but that's where we see it right now. Rolling forward, again, you can see the revenues. While that says we had a decrease in revenues, we have to remember that included the federal dollars, and then and so you take away the federal dollars, we're in the positive. Observations: the cash balance is healthy, the revenues are at budget, the expenses are below budget. We will add to the fund balance. The approach that the college is taking is sustainable. The internal controls are strong, from what I've seen, and the staff is very competent, capable, and experienced. And so that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah,
on the
please.
meal plan, so our 865,000 increase in that. Let me ask you, do we have a reduced meal plan for apartment students?
I'm going to need a rescue on that one, sir, so.
He says we do. Okay, I know
Okay.
we used to.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Go ahead,
Our
please.
revenues are going down on the bookstore. Is there, I would have expected perhaps an increase, we've just got more enrollment, but what is causing that, Dr. Burton?
I would need to follow up. I know that we have Barnes and Noble's higher ed, and so I would need to follow up on that question for you.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I can make a quick comment on that. I believe the trends that you're seeing across the nation is a reduction in purchasing books and more online resources and those sort of things. So I think that's going to be a pretty nationwide trend. I'm interested to see the numbers under the new Buck Books program that's implemented to see how that compares. This time next year, I'd like to see how that compared to the previous year.
And could throw Dr. Brzezinski under the bus here. Is there a large implementation of open source materials, an open source or free materials that you can offer students, such as OpenStax, or is there an increase in that, or?
No, we don't have necessarily increase in
Okay.
OERs compared to the last few years, but as we know, the THCB is encouraging institutions to move to OERs. But so far, the vast majority of our OERs are in science and technology.
Good. Appreciate it.
In light of the bookstore, do you know if that program that we approved last year, has it started yet? It did start.
The Buck Books program?
The first book, isn't that what you call it?
Yes, First Day Complete. We had First Day for a while. First Day Complete is where it's part of, you guys approved that in the spring. It's part of the tuition and fees, part of the fees. That started this fall. That was the first rollout. This fall is when that started.
So is that wrapped into their tuition and fees?
It's part of the fee structure.
Well, then do we get counted in terms of the bookstore for that, or?
Yes, it still counts as revenue for the bookstore, but that's how that First Day Complete works. So it's part of the fees, and as, of course, trustees, as you remember, it's a set fee per semester credit hour, and the students have the ability to opt out of that as well if they'd like to choose their books on their own. That's how that program works. But that is counted as tuition, our revenue for that item.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Burton.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item C, Preliminary Institutional Enrollment Report for the Fall 2023 semester. Dr. Becky McBride.
All right. Good morning, Chancellor, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I appreciate your continued guidance and support as we're going to talk now our preliminary numbers for fall of 2023. As you can see on this slide, trustees, we are currently beginning the 5th week of classes, which is so hard to imagine, but yes, the 5th week is here. We have 4 terms that have not yet begun, and of course, we're continuing to enroll students in those courses. Just to date, we've received an additional 1,621 applications when compared to last year. So that number is increasing every fall, and I'm very pleased to be up here to say that to you this morning. So, of course, we've exceeded the number of applications for fall of 21 and 22 as well. So things are trending in the right direction. Student Services continues to reach out to students as they continue to apply. They apply to us daily for this semester. All right, on this slide, we have a visual of where we are in terms of our parts of term. And as you can see, the first 4 weeks, first 8 weeks, and of course, 16-week semester has already begun. The first 4 weeks started just this past Friday on the 15th, and then we still have the 3rd and 4th 4 weeks, and the second 8 weeks yet to come, with the second 8 weeks starting October 23rd. All right, I do like these charts like Dr. Burton uses as well. They're very helpful, aren't they, when we're looking at things. So here's our pie chart of the types of courses that we're offering and the percentages. And you can see our largest piece of the pie in the Blinn Blue is almost 63% of our 16-week courses. And of course, that's the majority of what we're offering this semester, and the other parts of term that are about to come. And about 25% of the classes, just under 25%, is the second 8 weeks. As you know, as I said, they start October 23rd. On this slide, you will see our enrollment from the years 2019 and to date, and of course, we're still in progress for this semester. We did end up at 17,554 for fall of last year, and I can tell you as of today, we're 18,070, so we're still trending the same way. We gained around 300 students between the middle of September and November last year, so I expect a couple hundred more coming our way, which is, of course, good news for the college. And in December, I'll have the certified number for this fall semester. All right, on this slide, you can see a breakdown by campus. And as you can see in the green, and I like the green, of course, we have an increase in our in-person enrollment for Brenham, for the high schools, and the RELIS campuses when compared to last fall. Now, I will say with distance education, just something to note. I know you can see the increase there, and those, of course, are all online. We're offering 4 fewer sections. So all that's happened in distance ed is an increase in the courses that we were offering prior to, okay? I did want to say thank you to Dr. Busicki and Mr. Anderson. Of course, their continued support in adding courses as we need them has been so helpful, and couldn't do this alone. Want to talk about RELIS just for a minute. We're actually having 7 additional sections this fall, so not a huge increase, just higher enrollment on the campus itself. Other things to note, Bryan campus has 12 fewer sections than last year, so not a lot fewer. I also wanted to say, if you've paid attention, of course, in the news, you can look at the A&M enrollment for this fall. I think they've increased their highest freshman class ever. It was like 13,826, which is the highest they've ever enrolled. It was like 12,630 last fall. So as that institution increases enrollment, it does obviously impact us in the Bryan area. So just something to keep in mind. I also wanted to share high school. This is so exciting. So we're up to 56 dual credit agreements. I'm standing here today saying we've added 3 since last fall. Of course, Waller, we've added 203 students from that school. College View was the other one we added. And Digital Academy of Texas, so some new partners with Blinn this fall. And my last comment for this slide will be the other. You see a negative number there. I wanted to share that the federal prison camp has mandated no computer use at all in courses teaching there. So we're going to revamp for the spring and offer some certificates that require no technology, because we're not permitted to have any interaction with computers there. So that's something that is, we're working with them, and we'll continue to offer services for those students moving next semester. All right, takeaways from our fall enrollment. As you can see, our numbers are up 4.1%, and this was as of September 11th when we ran the numbers for this presentation. And of course, our preliminary numbers were already higher than the fall headcount of fall of 22. And with about 24% of our courses that haven't begun yet, or 635 sections. And we're very excited from the student services side, and very happy to present these numbers to you this morning. Any questions?
Can we go back just for a minute? Because what I have in my book and what you have up there, right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a real good, because my high school thing
Yes,
is
ma'am, I can
different.
explain. Something had happened. We had saved this in a Teams folder, and somehow with downloading it and moving it over, the numbers reverted to prior to our last update. So we fixed it this morning, and we can get you a copy of this as well. But it was a little perplexing because it was this in our shared folder.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
First quick comment, the numbers are just tremendous, and thank you and the staff, all of the hard work. There's about a 600 student decrease in Bryan, but almost 800 student increase in Rallis. And we talked about some of the potential transfer over stuff instead of doing the Bryan campus, doing the Rallis campus. Is that something that we're seeing as we're assessing students and where they want to be placed?
Thank you for the question, trustee. And that is something I've been looking into for a while here now. The students at Rellis, we did not see a shift of students from Bryan just to Rellis. Many of those students had finished with us and had moved on, okay? What we saw at Rellis this year was around 400, just under 500 increase with the team program, and around 300 or so students, I want to say 285-ish, that were new. So there was an issue, because I looked at all the majors and focused on those things to see where the shift was going. I do think that with many students being able to start at A&M right off the bat in the fall, that impacted our enrollment at Bryan most heavily. Thank you.
I'm going to add on to Allison. I was wondering about that too, and then I see this, but so is our total different?
It doesn't appear.
Because it looks like it must be different.
Well, this was as of September 11th. I'm sorry.
17,963. I think if you add up that whole column, it's not going to be 17,963.
And we can go back and assess it. As I said, something had happened with the downloading and the moving it. But today we are at 18,070 students.
1872.
Well, I wish it was 18,000, 070. So
Okay, good
we're still
report.
going though. We're still going.
No, good job. Great job by you and your team.
Over 18.
Thank you. Yes, we're over 18. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
One thing I do have a question in regards to distance education. I think we've been intentional in reducing the number of classes available on distance education and online because we want our kids to come to class. It's better for them. But do you see other colleges reducing their online availability or increasing their online availability? The reason I ask is, we don't want to miss out on kids that would potentially come to us, even be it an online scenario. If we, I would just encourage us to watch that because it's possible that if we don't have it available, they could go to someone who does have it available and we just missed that student, so.
And thank you. Yeah, well, yes, ma'am. And that's something that Dr. Busicki and I do actually, when I say continued support, I mean that wholeheartedly. We go back and forth and see because we hear from students too, if we're missing something, and we make sure that we offer as much as we can to collect them, but we also want them with us. So it's like the balance.
And I appreciate that because I agree, we do want them with us, but
Yes.
we don't want to lose them completely either, so.
Totally agree with that. Yes, sir. Thank you.
One quick final observation, if I can, Mr. Chair. You need to go, Dr. Basicki.
Dr. Basicki, please use the mic. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Chair Colcourse. To add a little bit to that, there is not a conscious move to eliminate classes in distance education. As you saw, what is happening is that the number of students is coming back to more normal number of students from the last few years after a huge increase in distance education because obviously the only classes that they had available were distance education classes. But there's not a conscious effort to reduce offerings, but to balance that, to make sure that students are getting what they really need, both in modalities and parts of terms, meaning first 8 weeks, second 8 weeks, 16 weeks, etc. Thank you.
Okay. My final observation was, I know we started back the high school campus tours, and are we beginning to see some harvest from those seeds being sown with the increase in the actually, we had a decrease in high school rates, but how's that correlating?
I know and thank you for the question, trustee. I know when during the COVID, we weren't able to have tours at all, if y'all remember. It was very strange for us. We couldn't have registration days. We couldn't bring them on campus. And we have seen an uptick in those students coming back to campus every year subsequently. So I can get the numbers if you'd like to see how many tours, but I know district-wide, it's increased. The buses are coming back, the visit days are coming back. And so, of course, with adding Waller, we can add that to our list as well, but it is helping. Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? Thank you, Dr. McBride. Next item on the agenda is the Blinn Brenham Housing Report for the fall 2023 semester, and I think Dr. McBride's going to give that as well.
Good morning again, Chancellor, Mr. Chair, and members of the board. We're going to continue our conversation a little bit this morning about housing here on the Brenham campus. I love visuals, and you can see we have some gorgeous facilities and options for students as they live with us this fall. So overall, you can see on the very top line, probably the second line, we're at 82% occupancy right now. And I know Dr. Burton's going to talk a little bit later this morning about some of the older residence halls that have the zero occupancy right now, the older buildings that have some issues that we're going to talk about later on today. But as you can see our numbers, we have 1,610 students on campus to date that are physically here with us. This is the second half of the listing of our current facilities and the number of students and the percentages in those. You can see for both Prairie Lee Hall and Mill Creek Hall, we have our occupancies up there with those two facilities working with our partners at Servitas. And on this slide, you can see a comparison from last year to this year, how many beds we have available, and that changes, of course, based on maintenance needs and things of that nature. So we will have more beds available as things become offline or online to us, and they won't be offline anymore. I will note if we do, or when we do remove those 4 facilities that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, we'd be at about 90% occupancy overall. So it will help us as a district, just to give you an idea with that. Also very proud to say that we don't have quarantine beds anymore, so that's a great thing to say. We know COVID is back in another form, but thank goodness a much lesser form. My last slide here with the takeaways for this fall. Our leased beds are up 119 from last year, and our occupancy rate is increased 6% from last year as well. And I'll stand for any questions, please.
Anyone have any questions in regards to housing?
I was just going to ask a question. It looks like our new, the Mill Creek dorms and the apartments and the Prairie League have really good occupancy. It appears, would it be a fair statement to say that the price point is not a significant factor in getting those dormitories filled, or they finding ways to pay for those higher price point dorms?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. I would like to note, I think you're right on a couple points there. We don't have a waiting list at all, right? Students are not asking us for the less expensive facilities. They buy what they want. So they're looking for the newer building, the beautiful. If you've seen the bathrooms in Prairie Lee, they're quite nice, actually. Anyways, my point is saying is that they're finding ways because that's what they want, if that makes any sense. But thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. McBride.
Thank you so much.
All right, we will now go to the presentation of the legislative summary for the 88th Texas Legislative Session. Dr. Schubert, not Dr. Schubert, but Mr. Schubert. Dr. Schubert, to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been called much worse before, so I appreciate the comment. Trustees have some great news today, and then we're going to continue that positive feel as we go into the summary of the 88th legislative session. I like to give just some statistics, and just so you know, this is the regular session. There are going to be some more extra special sessions coming up. As far as what we're hearing, that shouldn't affect higher education directly, but of course we continue to monitor that in case anything is included in those calls that would impact us. Just to give some statistics, because maybe I'm the only one that finds this interesting, but I think you guys might find it interesting. In the 88th session, there were roughly 8,530 bills filed, both Senate, House side, and 1,359 of those passed, which is a grand total of about a 16% passage rate. So the Texas legislature continues the tradition of being the institution where bills go to die. 16% passage rate. That's only going to continue. That's part of the system. So I want to focus on just a couple of bills here. I'm really going to drill down into House Bill 8. We're going to spend most of our time on House Bill 8, but I want to say House Bill 1114, y'all are very aware of this, our service area bill. Would love to thank Senator Colcourse and Representative Cassell for carrying these bills for us. This bill passed, as you know. The little yellow area that's in highlight there, that's the area that was added to our service area. And of course, as you know, we don't let grass grow under our feet. We've already got your dual credit going on in Waller. We're already looking at adding the courses to the community. Those will be starting in the second 8 weeks, October 23rd date. So we're already working with Waller Junior High to get that facility up to grade and go. So the bill passed, and we went right into starting to serve that area, and we continue to be very excited about the opportunities that are going to be in this particular area there. House Bill 8, we're going to hover on this for a little bit because we've got a lot of great things happening with House Bill 8, but I will say it's moving and changing. As a matter of fact, I don't want to tell you how many times I had to update this presentation because new information was coming out about House Bill 8 on the fly. So let's just talk about some generalities, and we're going to really zero in on how this is going to affect Blinn in a positive way. So you know it was a major overhaul to the funding. In the past, of course, contact hour funding was your highest percentage of state appropriations. That is completely changed. It is now an outcomes-based model as opposed to the contact hour model. Several things that we're noting on this. In the past, enrollment was key. Once you enrolled them and got them registered in a seat, that's your state funding at contact hours, how many hours they're in the seat. Enrollment is still important, but it's not just enrollment, it's performance of those students. So we can't just rest and say, oh, we've got X number of students enrolled. We have to get them to succeeding in the 3 metrics that we'll talk about more here in a second. The state has invested extremely heavily into an increase for community colleges. Over the biennium, House Bill 8 is going to do over $684 million of additional state money into community colleges. $428 million of that is funding the outcomes-based model that we're going to talk more about here in a second. And I thought this was interesting. In FY24 alone, the state invested over $210 million in additional dollars into the outcomes-based formula. We've talked a lot about outcomes-based formula. Here's what we're looking at. You've heard a little bit about this, but here's the items we're going to focus on. It narrowed down the previous success point model. Previously, as you know, there were 11 success points. That was graduation, 15 hours, 30 hours, transfer, a whole list of 11 items that were success points. We now have 3 measurable outcomes. The first one, number of credentials of value awarded. That is a term that is going to be defined by the coordinating board, a credential of value, generally speaking. You're looking at the cost of that degree or certificate versus how much you would make with that degree or certificate. And if that's a positive outcome from a financial perspective, that is a credential of value determined by the coordinating board. So think graduation, think workforce certificate, all those sort of things. Those are credentials of value that we offer and will continue to offer. There's your first measurable outcome. I keep wanting to call it a success point, trustees, because I'm just used to that, but measurable outcome. Number 2, number of students who earn at least 15 semester credit hours and transfer to university. I'm going to pause there for 1 second. The previous success point, 1 was taking 15 semester credit hours. Another success point was transfer. This has combined them. It's not enough now to take 15 semester credit hours. You then have to transfer to a public 4-year university. So it's not just taking those hours, it's in that transfer. Let's just pause here for a second. House Bill 8 comes out. You know the history we have with our co-enrollment programs with A&M Teams, Engineering Academy. We have lots of students that do that every year. As a reminder, before the 2019 session, we were not getting counted as transfers for those students. Those co-enrolled students do not actually transfer once they complete their Teams or Engineering Academy. They just become an A&M student. As you know, historically, we were not getting credit for that from a transfer point. 2019, we changed that. Senator Colcourse was vital in getting about 6 or 8 words into the budget, which resulted in a very good increase in success point funding for our co-enrollment students. It's about 1,600-ish students a year that go through those programs. We were not getting credit for that. Fast forward to this spring. House Bill 8 comes out. We're very excited, looking forward to it. I'm reading the lines. Where's the measurable outcome? Number of students who earn at least 15 semester credit hours and transfer to university, period. Our co-enrollment language was not in the original House Bill 8 version. That's millions of dollars, trustees, that we would be missing out on. So the chancellor asked me, go to Austin and fix it. I'll do my best. So we go to Austin and we fix it. We added or are enrolled in a structured co-enrollment program, which is the language that was always in the budget rider that defined co-enrollment. Trustees, we have our co-enrollment transfers in this House Bill 8 version. And I'm going to tell you why that's important here in a second. But I just want to pause there and let you know that change was made, and that's a very positive thing for Blinn College, or any college that has a structured co-enrollment program, and there are plenty of those. Matter of fact, let me just give you some information. I dove into some of the spreadsheets that the coordinating board has released. Statewide, co-enrollment information. There are 1,053 co-enrolled students statewide, 1,053. 817 of those are at Blinn, roughly 77%. Next highest, 189 students versus our 817. We are the leader in this. There's about 6 or 8 community colleges who have co-enrollment programs. I want them to all have co-enrollment programs because now they're getting credit for those transfers under co-enrollment. We clearly lead the way at over 77% of the statewide students in those programs. Your third and final House Bill 8 outcome measurable. Number of students who complete at least 15 semester credit hours of dual credit in high school. Those are your high school students. You want to take 15 semester credit hours before you graduate high school, we get a point for that. We have already initiated strategies with our high schools to get them to make sure that our students are taking 15 credit hours during their time in high school so we can hit that measurable outcome. So once we got these 3, we went right into action, and we're starting to work with our colleagues to get that taken care of. So those are your 3. No longer 11, we just have 3. Let's talk some more specifics about House Bill 8. Interesting timelines here, and this is one of the things that has really changed since we originally were working on this presentation. Follow me here, trustees. At the August 22nd Coordinating Board meeting, they approved the emergency rules for FY24. Emergency rules for FY24. They're now implementing the permanent rulemaking for this same year. So the emergency rules came in to say, hey, House Bill 8 comes into effect on September 1st. We got to have some rules that govern what happens between now and then. That's what the emergency rules are for. The coordinating board has already moved into the permanent rulemaking, which will be also for FY24, and they're going to complete those in January of 2024. So you heard that right. We're going to get our permanent rules for our year that's halfway finished in January 2024. That's when we get the permanent rules for this current year. Now, the coordinating board has also mentioned they're going to initiate permanent rulemaking for FY25 next fiscal year in April of 2024, so we'll have those rules a little early. And I do anticipate that the implementation of House Bill 8 will change based on those new permanent rules. The emergency rulemaking was very quick. They did it from the time session ended to August 22nd. There was no public comment involved in the emergency rulemaking process. We're doing public comment in these next permanent rules. I can already tell there's a couple of things I would like to change in House Bill 8, procedural, and so we're going to be monitoring that very closely, and I think the public comment coming out about that is going to fix some of those items. Under the emergency rules, Dr. Burton wanted me to share this with you. This is very different. Normally, we get almost a monthly state appropriations. You've seen it in the financial report all the time. Trustees, we get 3 distributions from the state under the emergency rules. 50% October 23, 25% February 24, the rest of the 25% in June of 24. So just be prepared. You're not going to see a monthly appropriations. If that dollar is a 0, don't be afraid. 3 times we're getting distributions from the state under the new emergency rules. House Bill 8 also allowed colleges to leverage Pell Grant funding for TEOG match. I don't expect you to remember when I was talking about this when we first were starting the session. One of the items that TAC was working on was allowing us to use our TEOG match, our Pell, to pull down some of those funds. Pell is federal funding. TEOG is a match the college has to come. That's all student financial aid. The universities were allowed to do that under their rules, but community colleges were not. Part of House Bill 8 was allowing colleges to use Pell Grant funding to leverage those TEOG match. Previously, the college had to put up their own money to leverage TEOG match. Now we can use our Pell funding that we already get in order to leverage. That's cost savings for the college, which is also great for our students. All right, trustees, this is where we're going to hover for a little bit here. Financial aid for SWIFT transfers. Part of House Bill 8 involved state funding related to dual credit courses. This has been a move. This was one of the recommendations from the commission, was to look at kind of a more a statewide approach to funding dual credit at community colleges. This program, what we call FAST, allows educationally disadvantaged students to enroll in dual credit courses at no cost to the student. So ask, what's the question? What are educationally disadvantaged students? The temporary rules have defined an educationally disadvantaged student as a student who qualified for free or reduced lunch under TEA rules. These are what we refer to as fast eligible students. Trustees, there's a little bit of a hiccup here. During COVID, most students were ruled as qualified for free or reduced lunch during COVID. Just about every single high school declared all of their students are eligible for those items. So that's going to be a little interesting, because what you look at for FAST is you look at the last 4 years. It's a rolling 4-year window. If you qualify for free or reduced lunch within any time in the last 4 years, you're a FAST student. So as you fast forward and and those 4 years roll, there's going to be a big drop in FAST eligible students, because not everyone is now ruled free or reduced lunch under TEA rules. So just thing to note, one of the things I think we're going to qualify or clarify in the permanent rulemaking. Now, community colleges have the option to opt in to FAST or opt out of FAST. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process and the timing and how we're going to look at that here in a second, but more details. If a college opts into the FAST program, the state will reimburse the college for those FAST eligible students at the rate of $55 a semester credit hour. Let me repeat that. If you're a FAST eligible student, means you qualified for free or reduced lunch in any time in the past 4 years, the state will reimburse you $55 per semester credit hour. But here's the key. We cannot charge those FAST eligible students any tuition or fees or any cost. This is something we're also going to clarify. Coordinating board has held several meetings about this, town halls, if you will, for us to discuss this. The language in the bill is very interesting. It doesn't say you can't charge them tuition and fees. It says they can have no cost obligation for attending dual credit courses. So a question was asked of the coordinating board. What happens if we have an online dual credit course? And that student obviously needs a laptop and internet access to access that dual credit course. The response was, college, you're responsible for giving that student a laptop. You're responsible for giving them internet access. That can have no financial obligation to a student for dual credit courses. That's a big deal, trustees. It's a big deal. So we've asked the coordinating board for clarification. As a college, how are we supposed to provide internet access to every single student who might be an online dual credit student? Just some things we're working through in this process. Once again, the permanent rules for this year are not going to be done until January, so we don't have all the answers. I wish we did, but we don't have all the answers for this fiscal year. Here is the other kicker for FAST. If you receive FAST money for the students who are eligible for FAST, the rules say you cannot charge any non-FAST student more than $55 per semester credit hour for dual credit. So you are limiting the amount of money you can charge for dual credit if you opt into FAST. Once again, the rules for FAST are coming through the process. Now here's where we are, trustees. We're analyzing this, Dr. Burton, and lots of different areas of the college. We're analyzing how FAST, opting into FAST, would impact the college's operations, both from a revenue perspective, a cost perspective, and also an operations perspective. This is a big decision, and all the rules are not here yet. January of 24 is when the rules are going to be here for this year. We are going to be discussing FAST and how that's going to impact the college in our budget cycle discussions in the spring. You're going to see full analysis of what we charge now. What would happen if we opted into FAST? What would that do to our revenue? What would it do for the cost? What would it do for operations? You're going to see a full discussion of that in our spring budget cycle, because it does have serious implications to how we operate from a revenue and a cost side. So trustees, that's coming. Just so you know, that's going to come. And we're looking at analyzing that maybe for a potential fall 24 rollout. We just don't have the information. And we're not going to have all the information for this year till January. We think it's prudent to wait and get those final rules and then present to you a full analysis based on those final rules, because once again, I anticipate there will be changes between the emergency rules that we're under now and the permanent rules that will be established in January. So just remember that's coming. That will be there. Questions on FAST? I know it's a lot, but if you have any questions, just stop me anytime. This has changed multiple times, and so it's a continual motion.
I do have a question about the second from the bottom, about you cannot charge any dual credit student more than, what do we currently charge?
Great question. It ranges. Our MOUs with our high schools have different options. So for instance, in our dual credit MOU right now, if you offer a high school instructor that's qualified to teach the course, that's one charge. If Blinn provides the instructor, that's another charge. And it goes back and forth. There's lots of different combinations of what ISDs pay for. So some pay for the books, some don't pay for the books. The students pay for the books and some, those sort of things. So what we're working on, and we'll show you in the presentation, in the budget presentation, is how that $55 would compare to what we are charging students. I will tell you right now, for the most part, it's less, much less.
I have a question on the, what do you call them? They're not success points, what are they called?
Outcomes-based metrics.
Outcome. Does the calculations of those things start this fall, or are they from last year?
This fall. Great question. I can even massage that a little bit more. In the past, under success points, you had a rolling 3-year average is how you came up to your success points for any given fiscal year. House Bill 8 has these 3. It starts September 1, so it starts right now, and it's a yearly basis. So every single year, the coordinating board is looking at in our responses and our reports to them, and they'll fund it for that year. As opposed to the old 3-year rolling average, it's every single year now. So we always have reporting requirements to the coordinating board. They're increasing those to have us report on these items right here. So.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you transfer to a university, is it a public university, a private university in Texas?
Another thing that has changed in this whole process, when it first came out, it was transfer, period. The coordinating board has now let us know that it's only transfer to a 4-year public university in Texas. So your ask automatically is, what about TCU? What about Baylor? I don't know the answer to those questions. Right now, it's 4-year public university in Texas. Once again, I said things are going to change in this. I think that's one that's going to change. Because we want our students, we'd love them to go to the 4-year public universities, but we want our students to continue their educational career. And we have lots of articulation agreements, not only here, but around the nation. Why wouldn't we have a positive impact if that student chose to go to, how about TCU? Let's talk about TCU. They want to go to TCU, let's go there. We'll send them all there. But right now, under the emergency rules, it's only 4-year public institution in Texas. Something we're going to work on getting updated in the permanent rules. Great questions. Let's get to the fun part, trustees. This has all been fun, right? How does this impact Blinn? In FY24, remember, the only rules we have set are for FY24 emergency, so they're doing only funding 1 year at a time right now. Our FY25 numbers will be determined with those permanent rules. Blinn's going to receive $7.4 million in additional state appropriations under House Bill 8. Total of $32.75 million in FY24 alone. Look at this, trustees. $31.35 million of that $32.75 is outcome-based formula. When they say it's outcome-based majority, they don't mean majority. They mean all outcome-based funding. This results in a 29.2% increase for Blinn College year to year. That's a big increase, trustees. Average community college received 22.9. You want to know why we received 29 instead of 22? Look at the next bullets. Completion of 15 semester credit hours, transfer university. That results in $15.4 million for Blinn this year. Completion of structured co-enrollment program, $3.87 million. Remember I said that wasn't in the bill? That's $3.87 million we'd have missed out on. If you look at our funding from the outcomes-based model, over 60% of our funding comes from those 2 items right there, transfer and co-enrollment. That's over 60% of our outcomes-based funding comes from those 2 points right there. You see the importance of getting those Blinn-specific items into the bill makes a big deal. Not only would it have been 3.87 this year, but going forward, that would have been every single year we're losing out on that. So trustees, this is a major change. And Dr. Burton and I have had conversations. We're a little nervous, I'm not going to lie to you. We're a little nervous that we don't have permanent rules yet for this year, and we won't have them until the middle of the year. But we're going to continue to monitor that, and I think we're going to make some positive changes to House Bill 8 as we go forward in those permanent rules. And Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to go ahead and tell the coordinating board, we need TCU in that.
Thank you
we need
so
TCU.
much. Yes,
I don't know what else to tell you.
100%.
Well, let's not get carried away. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah. Yeah, don't
I
go
don't,
so
I
fast.
don't know how the transfer worked to foreign schools, but LSU might have to figure out how that's going to work. LSU is another country. Trustees, we'll give you plenty of updates as we have them. Lots of other things in the session, but these are what I wanted to focus on. If you have any questions, happy to answer anything you might have.
Let me just say congratulations. Congratulations to this college for many years ago changing to an outcomes model as opposed to just bringing kids here to put them in college. Obviously, we were thinking about things in the right way, and congratulations to you, Dr. Hensley, for kind of leading that charge, and it's going to work out very well for us.
Thank you so much, Chair Colcourse. Blinn is so wonderful. And to see what we've been working on so hard for the last number of years come to financial benefit to the college is really exciting. I'd like to say a couple of things. First of all, Layton, you did a superior, wonderful job in making a complex situation and a complex bill understandable for everyone. So thank you very much. Excellent presentation. I have 2 slides I'd like to call to the board's attention again. So if you don't mind, would you go back to the 3 criteria again for which we are going to continue to focus? Would you please, trustees and those in the audience and those who are viewing through the online presentation. Trustees, we've always said at Blinn that we're different, and we are in so many ways from other community colleges. The second thing that we have said is for Blinn, because we are a heavy tuition and fee-based institution, that we have to focus on enrollment, 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 enrollment. While that is still important, these are the 3 for which we will now get funding. So it is not enrollment, because it is no longer contact hour. So you're going to hear us transfer our terminology a little bit. We welcome the enrollment. I'm thrilled that we are over 18,000. Under the old formula, we would have seen a monetary benefit for that enrollment increase. But you don't see enrollment on one of those 1, 2, or 3 bullets. So you're going to hear us change our terminology to we want students to receive credentials of value. We are going to focus on students at Blinn getting 15 hours, complete 15 hours at Blinn and transfer to a 4-year institution. And we're going to focus, our third focus will be on getting every dual credit we can, every dual credit student that we can to complete 15 hours in high school. That's our income now for the future. So while the enrollment is wonderful, we may not be funded per capita on students now, but it's increasing our pool from which we can draw the available students to complete these valuable outcomes. But it is no longer driving our formula funding any longer. And I think that's so important because that is not just a change for all community college, but it is a significant change for Blinn. And yet we rest back on the fact that this is what we have been focusing on for the last number of years, was not just the enrollment, but the completion. And Blinn has roughly about a 46% transfer rate of all the community colleges in Texas. The average is 22%. So we have focused on transfer for the last number of years. And so I think that we have been headed in the right direction. Thank you for acknowledging that, Chair Colcourse, and you're going to hear our terminology change now a little bit, trustees, as we want students to come to Blinn, but we want them, when you're here, complete at least 15 hours, transfer to a university. With dual credit, I wanted you to go to that FAST slide for just a moment on the timing there at the end. And note the last bullet. So the rules for FAST in FY25, in other words, a year from now, will be part of the permanent rulemaking process, which is going to occur in January and in April. January for this year and April for FY25. Trustees, you're going to hear some colleges talking about whether they're going to enter into the FAST program or not. And we have had very thorough conversations with all of our peer institutions. Some have already made the decision to go into the FAST program for this fall. without kind of knowing the roll ahead. Not very many, but a number of them have. Primarily, those are institutions, for example, maybe Dallas, where they have the College Promise program. The tuition is provided for them anyway, so they're going to go into the FAST program, and now they'll get state reimbursement for that. So some colleges are in an easier position, so to speak, I put that in quotes, to make a decision about entering into FAST. For some of those colleges, they have made the decision to start this fall. For the majority, they have not made the decision yet. Some are looking for the spring, and many are looking for next fall. Staff and I have had lengthy discussions about this, and what we are planning to do at this point is wait and see whether we enter into fall of next year. That would be fall of 2024. That would give us the benefit of having the rules determined in January, and then the final rules for FY25 completed in April. We will have the trustees, you will have the benefit then of the analysis that Leighton spoke to, and we'll see some, and there will definitely, I'll just tell you, there are going to be some pros and cons about this. For most colleges that charge tuition, including Blinn, we charge more than $55 a credit hour. But the coordinating board will say, and there's a great amount of truth to this, if you can increase your dual credit pool, then you may have more dual credit students who will complete the 15 hours in dual credit, i.e. points to Blinn, who will then come to Blinn and complete 15 hours, again, monies to Blinn, and then complete the 15 hours and transfer from Blinn, points to Blinn. And if you look at the whole point scenario, you may more than make up for the tuition that you may have lost on the original charge to a dual credit student. So it's the idea of increasing the eligible students who could take dual credit. And if you look at on surface, you may lose money. On the other hand, you may make up that money over time when they're into your track, so to speak. That's why we want you to have the benefit of knowing what the permanent rulemaking processes are and decisions are, and then bringing this through our budget process, through the budget committee and through you all to determine for the coming year. So right now, Blinn is not entering into the FAST program for FY24 for this current year, and then we'll decide what we want to do for next year. Thank you for allowing me to elaborate a little bit on that. Trustees, this is a moving discussion, and what we say today could clearly change by January. But I wanted you to be as informed as possible in as simple a manner as possible as you hear discussions with other community colleges as to what they're doing. If at any time you have any questions, please contact me or Leighton or Clint, and we'll do our very best to keep you posted on where we are at that point in time. Thank you again, and Leighton, again, I thank you for your leadership, both at Blinn and at the legislative session. You were instrumental in getting our co-enrollment back in. And I sincerely appreciate that, and note that that was a $3.7 million difference for Blinn this year. So you earned your day's pay, I will say. Thank you again. Trustees, thank you for your patience and your interest and your intent focus on this conversation, and we'll continue it.
Dr. Hensley, one quick question before we move on. Would it be accurate to say that those colleges that have very large property tax bases and revenue that come in off of property taxes are in a better position to automatically go into this FAST program because a large chunk of their revenue comes from property taxes and they can charge lower tuition?
Go ahead and then I'll respond.
I would say add one thing to that. Yes, obviously, I think Dallas generates $300-something million in property tax a year. So they have that to fall back on. They're not just relying on tuition and fees. The other class of community colleges who make this easier is who have very high percentage of enrollment in dual credit. Some community colleges have over 30% of their total enrollment coming from dual credit. They have to do this, and that's their lifeblood. We're not in that position. So those are the two colleges that have a very different type of decision than we do on this matter.
Chair Colkhurst, I would respond absolutely. I believe that's absolutely correct. You have a larger tax base, life is just easier in so many ways financially for an institution, and recognizing that we bring in from Blinn about $2.2 million on our tax base. We're grateful for every penny, but it's not $385 million or what some of the larger community colleges do have, I would reiterate what Leighton just said. Some colleges, their total enrollment, 30% or more is dual credit. So they can't afford to lose dual credit by continuing to offer tuition fee. They need to probably go down this route. I would say also that you're going to find a lot of community colleges that have high, early college high schools, or they're waiving tuition and fees to some degree less than $55, either zero or up to $55. As I said earlier, that's almost an automatic. They're going to go into the FAST program. It's the rest of them. I think a pressure point for some community colleges, they may hesitate to do this program, but those community colleges that are abutting their service area are all going to go FAST program. Then the pressure is on, so to speak, because students can go to any community college and take dual credit. You don't have to take it within your service area. So there are numerous balances to consider in all of this. I think our takeaway for today is we approach this with prudently, with thought, and we won't enter into it until next fall at the earliest, but we'll keep you very posted and we'll give you all the data that we possibly can provide for you. This may be one of those where you jump off a little bit into the unknown, and should we go into it, then we see if we can make up potentially the tuition lost on the credentials of values and the points that they are going to fund us on. So stay tuned, and again, trustees, thank you so very much for your kind attention to this whole legislative update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you guys very much. We will now move into item 5 on the agenda, the consent items. All items listed in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted upon one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from consent and considered in discussion and possible action. The trustees receive agenda materials in advance of the meeting prepared for the business to be conducted, and I think all of us went over all of these items very carefully at our last meeting together. So what I would be looking for is a motion to approval of minutes for the August 15th regular meeting, approval of proposed amendments to CDB, CT, DEA, DEAA, DEAB, DH, FD, FFE, and GD.
So moved on adoption of all.
Trustee Wells makes the motion. Trustee Benke, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll now move into item 6, discussion and possible action items. First item is adoption of a resolution for the 2023 tax rate. Dr. Burton.
Good evening, good afternoon still. During the BAIF meeting, we had a discussion about property tax and received a proposed rate from the board. What we need to do today is adopt a rate. So just to review what we covered in our last presentation, we got a general overview, tax options and history, and board requested actions. Okay, the general overview, Blinn only deals with the maintenance and operations portion of the tax. This is only the tax that funds the operation of the college. The college does not have any interest in sinking because there's never been a voter-approved bond to sell from Washington County. The board has been presented 3 options, which we'll discuss later, but we'll cover that when we get to the slide. The important thing is that today that the Board of Trustees will vote and adopt the tax rate by resolution. Again, a reminder, Blinn only gets 2% of its revenues from local property taxes. Tax rate options. As we'll bring to the board's attention, there are 3 options here. The first one is the no new revenue rate. What this is calculated by the assessor's office to where we will receive the same amount of money from this year as we would last year by adjusting the rate based on new property values coming in. So that rate would be 3.6 cents per $100. The option 2 would be the current rate that the college offers, which would increase our revenues by $76,000, but would be above the no new revenue rate and would have required a public hearing. The last rate is the maximum rate that the college could have gone to. It would have required a public hearing, and if we'd gone above it, it would have required an election. So again, the administration is recommending, and the proposed rate we had was option 1. Going through our tax rate history, the single star, single asterisk, is when the board in the past adopted the no new revenue rate. And then the 2 asterisk is when the board adopted a rate below the no new revenue rate. This is a comparison of our other entities within Washington County. And this graph brings home that Blinn is the lowest collection of the entities in Washington County, the ISDs and the various cities and county. The board requested action is that the administration recommends that the board adopt the proposed rate that came out of the BFIA meeting, and that is 3.63 cents per $100. That would generate $2.3, almost $2.4 million in revenues for the college. And so the board action required is that it must approve the 2023 tax rate. And I'll go back to the slide that has that information. Any questions, trustees?
I would be looking for a motion that the Board of Trustees approve and adopt a resolution to set a tax rate of 0.0363, which is the no net new revenue tax rate.
I move that we adopt the tax rate of no new revenue at 0.0363 for our tax rate.
Motion made by Trustee Benke. Trustee Ehlert. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, trustees.
Okay, next item on the agenda is authorization for the administration to seek proposals for the demolition of residence halls on the Blinn Brenham campus. Dr. Burton, I bet you're going to hand this off.
Yes, very much so. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mark Feldhage, who will walk us through the dorm recommendations.
Good morning, Mr. Colkhorst, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. I'm here again to continue the conversation we started a few weeks ago in the BAIF committee meeting. I believe most everyone was there. And so today I bring before you agenda item 6B. This is a request that the board authorize administration to seek proposals for the demolition of Spencer, Buccaneer, Lockett, Catherine Atkinson halls on the Blinn Brenham campus. I'm going to update our presentation that we looked at, as this is now a presentation to discuss the demolition of these halls. To remind the board of the campus in general, up in the left-hand portion of the campus, the large area here, these are our Blinn College Park apartments, 7 apartment buildings. Building 46 is our P3 Mill Creek Hall. Moving all the way to the south side of campus is our second P3 Prairie Lee Hall. And then we get into the core of campus. North of 3rd, these are some of our more traditional halls. We have Melcher, Hallstein, Hellman. Wheeler Hall is the T-shaped building, and then Beasley Hall. And then we're going to zoom in on the 4 halls that are going to be in discussion today. These being Catherine Atkinson Hall, which is just across the street, Spencer Hall, which is just behind where y'all are sitting, and then Buccaneer and Lockett Halls, which are kind of, again, here in the core of campus. To remind us of some of the conditions that we discussed previously and that are to be highlighted, Spencer Hall, the top hall on our list, is our oldest hall. It suffered some storm damage in last winter's freeze and has not been repaired. It was slated for demolition relatively soon as well in the 2026 through 2030 timeframe of the master plan. 2 halls, which are very much in common based on their amenities, are Buccaneer and Lockett Hall with the community bathrooms. similar in age, and also similar in the time frame of the proposed demolition in the master plan. And then Catherine Atkinson Hall, that one is just across the street from us. It's a suite bath, but it is of the four halls we're discussing today, the hall with the largest FCI, which is the Facility Condition Index, which means that it needs the most work to get it back in condition to make it more similar to our other halls. And as Dr. McBride mentioned earlier, all four of these are unoccupied currently, so they were not shown in any occupancies. As we discussed, there are the demolition for these. If we were to demolish these based on board approval, 3 beds off from Spencer Hall, the proposed or the estimated cost for that's $125,000. 47 beds at Buccaneer at an estimated demolition cost of $160,000. 49 beds at Lockett, an estimated cost of $140,000. And then 41 beds at Catherine Atkinson Hall at an estimated cost of $155,000 for a total estimate of demolition of $580,000. So with that, again, we request that the board authorize administration to seek proposals for the demolition of Spencer, Buccaneer, Lockett, and Catherine Atkinson Halls on the Blinn Brenham campus. If approved, the demolition would be a full demolition of these 4 residence halls, returning those spaces to green space. The estimated demolition cost is $580,000, which is available from the repairs and renovations budget. And we would anticipate that this would happen during the summer of 2024, so as not to happen during the school year. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Mark, how many bids do you think that you're going to solicit for this project?
We would open this up through an RFP, so anybody would be available to propose on it. I'd have to look back at the number of bidders we had last time, but typically we're getting 3 to 5 bidders on a project like this.
Any other questions, trustees? I know we've discussed this at length at our last meeting as well. So, all right. Well, I would entertain a motion that the board authorize the administration to seek proposals for the demolition of Spencer, Buccaneer, Lockett, and Catherine Atkinson Halls on the Blinn Brenham campus.
I'll make that motion.
Dr. Krausen makes the motion. Ms. Cruzy makes the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Going back to high school, guys. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
One quick thing, and it was actually Trustee Krausen that brought it up. With us demolishing these dorms, could we bring up the fact that you had a solution to, I guess, basically commemorate the people that these dorms are for?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. We are working on that, and we will have that as part of the plan, how we're going to discuss it with you and how we can continue to honor these individuals and their families based on these building names.
Excellent. Okay, well, that gets us through discussion of possible action items. Item 7 on the agenda is executive session, and I believe we do have an executive session today. So we will be moving into executive session in accordance with 551.071 and 551.072. Let's take a 10-minute break and be back at 11:54 a.m. And it is currently 11:44 a.m.